Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. This week's questions answered video. Question is, should I look when I reholster my firearm? This is a great question because it seems like there are two very distinct sides to this question, and they both have very good reasons for pros and cons of looking when you reholster your firearm. For law enforcement purposes, it makes sense to be able to holster your gun without looking because you may have to keep history on someone that you're about to handcuff. In the event that, maybe you're just by yourself, single officer, you don't have a cover officer, so you have to kind of take somewhat of a risk holstering your firearm in order to effect an arrest. Exposed carry obviously makes reholstering without looking very, very easy, but there are still some potential safety issues that we have with that. The biggest one is going to be if foreign debris or something gets inside your holster and you don't clear it and then you holster the gun, it can cause a negligent discharge. I've personally witnessed that twice in my life where, and ironically, both times were caused by the exact same thing. Those, your fleece jackets, they have those little balls that are on the elastic string so you can tighten the waistband. In both occasions, on two different styles of holster, that little ball had fallen inside the holster, and upon reholstering without looking, there was an ND. Both occasions, no one was hurt, but it was a gear-related negligent discharge. Now, how can you overcome that? Well, the easiest way to overcome that would be to physically clear the holster before you put your gun in it. If you can't look at your holster for whatever reason, it's very easy to just glance down. Obviously, that's ideal. But if we can't look at our holster, we can use our thumb on the outside of our firearm. So if for whatever reason I was worried about my shirt being inside my inside the waistband holster, I can use my thumb to kind of find that holster and then guide the gun back into it. The topic presupposes a lot of things, and we kind of have to address both of them. First presupposition is you're always going to be able to look at your holster when you holster it because it's going to be administrative in nature. Speaking mainly on the citizen side of the house, what reason would a citizen ever have to holster a gun without looking? I don't know, and no reasonable trainer in his right mind would answer that question as if, well, I know, and they'll never have a situation where they won't be holstering administratively. An administrative holster, by definition, is I don't have to worry about my environment. I'm simply administratively putting my gun away. Generally speaking, when we holster a firearm, we are done with it, or we need to complete another task that we can't do with our firearm in our hand. From a citizen's standpoint, it may make sense to be able, even in your inside the waistband holster, to be able to holster without looking. It's definitely a skill that you should have. Should you rely on it? I can't answer that question. Personally, I'd say no, just because, again, holstering is generally an administrative action. So if I draw my gun without looking, I should be able to put it away without looking too. But do I necessarily want to rely on that? Again, is the holstering administrative, or does another task need to take place? We can't say definitively you should do it this way or you should do it that way, but you should possess the technique to do it both ways. So let's just say, random scenario, I bring out my firearm as a citizen in a self-defense scenario, and I don't actually have to shoot, but I'm able to get compliance from someone. Say they committed a felony against another person. I'm going to assist, or I'm going to effect a citizen's arrest, or I'm going to restrain that person because they maybe they committed a murder. Who knows, right? Well, now, if I don't have anyone to help me and I do need to restrain this person, I need to put my gun away. Again, that's going to be a personal decision. That's a very specific scenario, but in that situation, if you put them in a position of disadvantage, and you should know how to do those things before you go at attempting them. Should I holster back? Should I look down and be like, all right, let me just go ahead and... No, you should be able to holster your gun even on an inside the waistband holster without looking, and that's simply using that thumb technique. I'm going to bring my shirt up, I'm going to go ahead and find clear holster, put the gun away, and then I have both hands available to me. For law enforcement, plainclothes law enforcement, concealed carry, off-duty law enforcement, are you able to holster your gun without looking, in effect, to free your hands so you can effect an arrest or do whatever you need to do with your hands? We can get into fantasy camp very, very easily on this topic because we talk about the what ifs and the presuppositions and things like that. But is there anything gained by not being able to holster without looking? That being said, if you can look, you should at least visually clear your holster before you attempt to do the cool guy speed reholstering. If you're carrying exposed duty carry inside the waistband, wherever your gun happens to call home, if you have the ability to do so, you should do a visual check to make sure the holster is free of debris, outside media, so it does not in fact cause or potentially cause a negligent discharge upon reholstering. Duty holsters are notorious for collecting things in them that we don't want in there. Especially the longer the gun is out, the more movement that you have to do, the more likely it is for something to find its way inside that holster, because it's a pretty big target area for general debris or gear that you have in your pocket, or who knows. So we want to be able to prevent that as best as possible. If you can't look, then you should at least have a technique that allows you to holster the gun without looking. I won't say you should definitively do it one way or the other. Just like everything else, it's going to be contextual. So the idea that you should do it, you should always look or you should never look, is kind of ridiculous because it presupposes on both sides of the conversation a lot of information. So let's just use best practices and let's holster the gun in the way that fits the situation in which the gun is being put away. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Holster accordingly.